Amazing company, amazing people. Don't ever burn bridges where you're at. You never know. If I would have acted like a jackass on the sideline and treated him badly as a quarterback at Nease, if I don't take him in the door when he first comes to rec selling hats, just all things you go back and look at and go, if none of those things happen, who knows where you are. So for those of you out there that are listening to the podcast from a business standpoint, don't burn your bridges. You never know what help you might need. I appreciate every one of you for listening and checking this out. It's my buddy Jeff Whitaker, DomeHats. We're doing it live. All right, welcome to the third episode of the PlayFast Football Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Mack, and I am jacked up about what we got going on today. I am in beautiful Jacksonville Beach, Neptune Beach, wherever. Jacksonville Beach at the Dome headquarters. Great backdrop, great setting. We've got a bar top setting here that they have just redone in the last year at Dome, and a great backdrop with all the hats. And I am here with the co-founder of Dome, Jeff Whitaker. How you doing, Will?
Good, Coach. How you doing?
We're doing okay. So most of you that have followed PlayFast football stuff in the past know that Dome is our biggest sponsor. They have been for the last year. We've got some hats laid out in front that are Orange Park hats that we did, and PlayFast hat that I'm wearing. And it's kind of an interesting dynamic. When you talk about the business world, you always talk about be careful what bridges you burn, be careful, what you're doing. This dynamic started probably 2000.
Fall 99.
Fall of 99, you are playing quarterback at Nease.
Yes.
And I am the head coach. My first ever job, I am the head coach at Nease High School.
Mm-hmm.
Who won that game?
I think Nease won that game.
Yes, I believe.
Yeah.
I believe Nease won that game, and you were playing quarterback, I believe.
I think I kicked 4 field goals in that game too. I kicked and punted and played quarterback.
Quarterback, punted, kicked field goals, and interestingly enough, down the road, you end up with you and your buddy Chris Hetland. You guys are both at Florida, and you're kicking at Florida. Fun.
I was a backup kicker. I was a walk-on warrior, man.
Scout team quarterback.
Scout team quarterback after 3 years.
So you guys go to Florida together, and then lo and behold, after that, you guys start a business, and you're in the hat business, and you come to Ridgeview one day, and you walk in and say, "Coach, remember me?" And I'm in this hat business now, and next thing you know, 15, 14 years later, I come back to you and say, "Hey, Jeff, remember me? We were in this together. I got this YouTube stuff going on, and I'm looking for ways to get some products out there. You want to work together?" And next thing you know, you are taking me through how to start a business.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
It's just it's things that I had to learn on my own to start a business 12, 15 years ago, and I had people who reached out and helped me do it.
Yeah.
And I always said that when I had the opportunity, I would do the same thing for anybody else who asked, because it's a scary thing to start your own business. It's scary to go out there on your own, and it's exciting. And just as you'll experience, 4 or 5 years from now, people are going to come to you.
Yeah.
And they're going to ask you for help, and we're both coach. I haven't coached. I didn't coach as long as you, but it kind of gives you that same feeling you get when you're coaching your kid is when you're helping business owners build.
And I get it on the YouTube side. Sometimes I get people that say, "Hey, I just started this, or I'm doing this, or how did you get it going? How did it start? What do you do?" And so, excuse me, I've gotten it from the YouTube side before, and you get it in coaching all the time. But from the business side, it's just crazy when you start thinking about it and going, "Okay, this is what I want to do. I've got a pretty good audience, a pretty good following. I got this idea. All right, Jeff, let's meet up. And let's meet up and for dinner and a beer. And let's talk about how do you do it." And you start taking me through the steps and what I need to do and what I need to look at. And just the whole thought process of it is just amazing to me. All the things that I didn't know, that I still don't know, but the things that you're at least able to guide me in the right direction to say, "Okay, well, here's how you navigate some of these things, and here's what you need to try and do, and here's what you need to try and avoid." And then I'm going to let you tell the story, because I think it's absolutely awesome. When you guys get in and you first start out and you're kind of distributing on your own, and you and Heather going door to door and school to school, and then you guys, you kind of make a breakthrough at a clinic with Rydell. Tell me the story again, because to me it's fascinating about the meeting with Rydell, how it went down, the agreement you guys made, and then the oh shoot moment to say, how are we going to do this?
I'll give you the Cliff's Notes version. Chris and I sat down at Donovan's Irish Pub down in St. Augustine, about a mile south of Nease High School, and he was working up in Georgia. And I had been in the hat business for a little bit and said, hey, I want to start my own company, and what do you think about leaving what you're doing and coming and joining me? And he was single at the time, and we're best friends. He said, well, is it 50-50? And I said, yeah, sure. And so he said, okay. So he drives down, we form a company, and we started out of my living room. And I think that we each probably combined had about $1,000 total.
Yeah, that's more than me.
And that's about what we had. That's about what we had. So we just started hustling. Took what little knowledge we had about owning a business and what wealth of knowledge we had about hustling and working hard, and put that together and just made every day was new. It was different. It was new customers. It was new business practices. It was figuring out how to work QuickBooks. Figuring out accounting, figuring out marketing through social media, and just shipping internationally, because we manufacture overseas. So there was a lot of things we had to learn in those first few years. And it's fortunate that we didn't get a break until 3 or 4 years in.
Yeah.
We had a good product.
Because I saw you for 3 years straight coming to Ridgeview.
Yeah.
Every winter or every off season, still coming in, and you're direct selling yourself.
Every day I was in at least 2 high schools meeting with coaches, and to be honest with you, I love that. I still do it today if it was actually profitable.
That side of it you love because you're a former player, former coach. You're doing coaching stuff now with your kids, so that side of it you love, and the interaction you love. But you're half owner of the business, hustling and selling hats yourself.
Correct. And so you can only make so much selling 36 hats to a football coach.
Correct.
And when you have 20 to 25% turnover in the state of Florida at head coach,
leaves,
very difficult to maintain that business year over year. So fortunately, we got a great product, and we got a great line, and how we sell more of it and have more people sell it. We had made relationships with the Rydell salesmen in the state of Florida. Guys like Dan Suarez and Paul Billmeyer and Kyle McCaig were friends of ours. We've met at Glazier clinics. That's where we'd go. We'd go to Glazier clinics.
Big
work
ups
all
to Kyle
day.
McCaig.
Yeah, and we'd go have beers at night, and they were just great guys. Great guys. And ultimately, they said, why they weren't really selling hats. They said, why aren't we selling your product? And I said, I don't know. You tell me how I can make it happen. Well, long story short, the next morning, a fellow by the name of Danny Smith, who'd been with Rydell for a long time, came up to our booth and said, hey, I called up to my guys at Rydell. There's a director of soft goods and apparel who's going to give you a call. He came down a few weeks later. There's a long story to it, but
at that time though, when he says that, you're like, sure, he's going to call us.
Sure, yeah, I'll believe when I see it, right?
But then the guy does call.
Sure
Next
enough.
thing you guys set up a meeting down here that ends up in a story somewhere along the lines of you broker a deal with somebody, and you basically bet on yourself to say, hey, we're in, we're good. And then you find it, you look ahead and you go, how are we going to do this now?
A guy by the name of Mike Splazacek, close friend now. He's with Rydell, and he walked in the door, and he's been in the business.
At that time, the way it described it to me, the remodel of this place hadn't been done. You guys were on a couch in the middle of the room, and so now you're trying to figure out, all right, is this guy going to walk in here and think we can do this?
What I think he'd already seen the product, and he was impressed by the product. I like to think he was impressed by a couple of young guys who were magnetic and would hustle.
Goes a long way.
And so we spent a good day talking about programs and products. I went and played golf, and they basically said, we're looking for a partner. And what's been great about that partnership is it has not been a vendor-supplier relationship. It has been a partnership. True partnership. We've sacrificed for them, and they've done a lot for us and given us a lot of concessions. And I'm very, very grateful for everybody at Rydell who has really helped us take this company to the next level. So, but they asked, we had to make a significant investment. We didn't know how big that would be at the time when he walked out the door, but we just said yes.
I think it was
kind of a thing where we said, this is the opportunity we're in this for. It's been 4 years, and this is what we're waiting for. You kind of know. It's kind of one of those things where you kind of know it when you see it. I imagine it's very similar to a backup quarterback getting a shot
Yeah.
against a really good team, let's go find out how prepared we are. And we just said, yeah, let's go. You know?
And we'll get to that subject later when we talk about the Gators, because former Gator and Gator fan, and this is a non-Alabama podcast. So, you know, but I think when we were talking business and about some different things, and I think that the story to me is just so fascinating in itself, and you know the what you guys did and the risk you took. But you know, the thing that stood out to me was you said, Coach, I bet on myself, and I bet on me and Hit, I bet on, and if you're gonna do something, like I always said, yeah, I feel pretty good. Sometimes probably dumb, but I feel pretty good when I bet on myself. You know, I feel pretty good about what I think I can do. Now, I don't know what everybody else thinks about what I can do, but if I'm gonna make that gamble, I'm gambling on a product that I'm in control of, and I'm gambling on my work ethic and my ability to do what you guys do in the sales world.
Yeah.
And you know, to me, that's just obviously it's a great story. Turned out well for you guys, and we're at this amazing headquarters now that you've turned into a bar top setting, and you know, you guys got some great ideas going on, and we've been partnered up for the last year trying to do things together. Not only have you helped us tremendously with PlayFast, but you got the clinic coming up, right? And you know, it's kind of a mutual deal where it's like, all right, you know, Jeff, tell me where we want to get this hat company to. Tell me how I can get it in front of the audience that I have. And then you turn around and say, all right, well, what are we trying to do with this clinic? Where are we trying to get to? And next thing you know, a year later, we're 6 weeks out of something that I thought might have a chance to go. And, you know, here we are 6 weeks out and we're doing it, and it's at the Embassy Suites in St. Augustine, and maybe we bit off more than we could chew with the venue, but it's, you know, again, a gamble we took and picked up great sponsors, and you guys have been there sponsoring it the whole way, and it's a way for us to now kind of take our product, which I feel like there's, you know, there's kind of a segue between the two of what I was trying to do in the market I was trying to get to, and what you guys were trying to do in the market you were trying to get to, and then kind of combining those things and saying, hey, look, you've got more business acumen and a little bit more invested on the business side, but I've got an audience and a demographic that I think can help. What can we do? So we sat down, got together, came up with a way to do it, and it's been, you know, to me, it's been a great ride, because it started, like you said, when you're a head football coach for 20 years, you wake up every morning and it's like, okay, what do I got to do today? How are we going to get better? What lifts we got to do? What's practice going to be like? All of a sudden you wake up and go, all right, I got to shoot this video, and I got to promote Dome, and I got to get on Twitter and do this, and it just gives you another outlook on life, you know, something else to do, something to wake up for, to feel like, hey, this is exciting, this is good.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the social media side. Let's talk about the Twitters and the Instagrams, and how do you promote a business on social media?
I think it depends on your market and your product. You know, you and I have very different products, but we also operate in the same market. Right?
Yeah.
And so you're talking to coaches, and we're also trying to talk to coaches.
Yeah.
We sell hats in a bunch of different industries, and I would say that we do a lot in country music. For instance, we are very fortunate to work with a great company in Nashville called Richards & Southern, and Richards & Southern is a merchandise company, and they represent artists like Luke Bryan and George Strait, and we've been able to provide them with a service and a headwear product that has really given their artists something a little better than what they had before. Now that product Instagram has been very successful in that industry, in music. It's very visual. You know,
because of the audience, or because of the demographic? Or?
It's because of the audience, and I think that everybody's looking for something custom, very, very custom.
Yep.
I think where it differs when it comes to the team market, where at least where we focus our efforts in team, and we're trying to focus more efforts, is in Twitter.
Yeah.
Because every football coach and every high school football player in the country is on Twitter.
It's crazy.
And it's quick, it's caffeinated, it's fast. You want good information, quality information. A lot of times it doesn't matter if it's true. And not you're in my case, but you know, even national reporters, you know, journalism has changed because of Twitter. You just get it out there fast, be responsive, be witty, and have something that can be consumed and digested and in a very, very short period of time.
It's like 2 weeks ago, or whatever it was, when you know, a major football site got it out there that Mike Leach was hired at Ole Miss. And this is a major.
But there's no punishment for being wrong.
No. It's you just you know, it's like the news scoops all the time on trades or free agents or whatever, and you always got to be the first one to put it out there.
Yeah.
And then if you're right, it might be the break of your career. If you're wrong, you just retract the statement or whatever, and you just say, hey man, I got bad information.
There's no consequences.
And that's the way the football world revolves in Twitter. It's just a constant back and forth of, well, you should run this and you should run that and you should do this and you should do that. And guys get into these knockdown, drag out arguments on Twitter when we're all kind of arguing about the same thing. Let's figure out how to coach better. Let's put a better product. Who cares if it's wing tee? Who cares if it's shotgun? Who cares if it's spread? What does it really matter? But on Twitter, people get into all these arguments all the time about, systems and teams and NFL teams and college teams. But it's just amazing how quickly the interactions, obviously they can escalate in a bad way, but it's just amazing how quickly you can get a reach to so many people across the country. As a business, that's really what you're trying to do. You're located in Northeast Florida. You're going direct sales, and you're going, school to school, and you're trying to cold call and do all these other things. The next thing you know, now you're trying to, whether it's Nashville or whatever it is, you're trying to bring your brand to the national level. And that's, social media it's just a necessary evil. You gotta have it.
Yeah, football coaches almost get a little more fiery on Twitter than people talking politics.
Oh yeah. It's very similar, I would think.
I think it's very similar, and I think it's similar for the same reason. People are passionate about the politics and passionate about their football, especially coaches, because as you know very, very well, nobody punches the time clock like a football coach. Nobody. It's almost a badge of honor how hard coaches work. And especially in the state of Florida, where football coaches are vastly and grossly underpaid, what you make per hour as a football coach in the state. I'm not saying anything everybody doesn't know.
Yeah, I've actually argued with people on the first staff I was on, and rest in peace, Jimmy Barnhart, who just passed away a couple months ago, but Jimmy Barnhart hired me at Ridgeview, and he was a coach at Hofstra, recruiting me to play at Hofstra. He was a coach at Brown University. I wasn't smart enough to get into Brown University. If I was, I might not be sitting here doing this podcast right now, because Jimmy coached Bill O'Brien, head coach of the Texans, head coach at Penn State. He coached him at Brown. I would have been in the same class as Bill O'Brien playing football at Brown with Bill O'Brien, and if we both share the same interests and I hitch my wagon to him, maybe we're somewhere else. But when I used to work with Jimmy was old school, to where we met just to have a meeting. We worked just to work, because you couldn't say somebody else was out working it. But a lot of times I don't know what we really got accomplished in some of those meetings or that work, but we always hung our hat on that school down the road ain't gonna outwork us. You're not gonna outwork us. But sometimes I was like, we're not really working. We're meeting, but
circle talking.
It's like, but you feel like, football coaches sometimes, or even business owners, you feel like you gotta be somewhere doing something to say that, hey, we're grinding, we're working, we're doing. So football coaches get crazy with how much time you put in, and it's gotten easier now with internet and Huddle and GameStrat that I use as my sideline replay system and all these other things like, video editing systems, and there's so many of them out there, and you can watch film at home. I don't have to stay there with a VCR and rewind it with all my coaches. Everybody can go home and watch film from their house. So it's gotten a little bit better from that standpoint. But from a business standpoint, I don't really agree with how it's gotten either, because one of those companies that I just mentioned kind of got a stranglehold on the business. And I went with a different company that I think does a better job for me. And we were a perfect marriage, kind of like Dome and PlayFast a little bit. And I got them in some doors maybe they wouldn't have gotten in before. And they provide a great product, but the way the business world works sometimes, you can't break in on that other company that's got a stranglehold on everything. So it's kind of crazy the way the world works. Certain things that made it easier for us as coaches, but then at the same time, I think there's things that, the company that made things easier for us, I switched from with my sideline replay and went to a different company because it was better for me, and I wouldn't go back again because the company I use now is awesome.
You've got to differentiate yourself somehow, whether you're a coach or you're a business owner.
Big time as a business.
Right, but as a coach as well. Not everybody's playing with the same deck, right?
Yeah.
Whatever city you're in, one team's got 30 kids, one team's got 200. You know who I'm talking about here in town, right?
Yeah.
So you've got to differentiate yourself, and it isn't always who works the hardest. Why do the military academies run triple option, right? Why are certain teams doing certain things? So
here's a topic that you just hit on, and we'll bring this up now. And now that we're in a kind of a little football segment of the podcast, I just brought this up to some other people, and I've done some recent videos on systems and what are systems, and is people get so hooked on these different things. Colby, get the door. Podcasting live is a great deal when that delivery's coming in. There we are. Somebody's hats are in. So if you order hats from Dome, I think your hats just came in. So we were talking the other day, and I asked somebody. I said, how come, in the last 3 years, when you look at the Army Navy scores, neither team had scored over 21 points leading into this year, right?
Podcast or something.
But yet, when you watch them play Houston, Tulsa, or even some big time, sorry, not they're all Division I schools, but some big time programs, and they score 40 points on them, but they score 17 points on each other.
Right.
Give me your take on what you think as a guy that's been in football. Why do you think that is?
I would say probably 3 reasons. One, it's a rivalry game unlike any other rivalry game.
Correct. But yet.
So you have 2 teams who literally say, go Army or go Navy, beat Army, or every day of every year. And so you have the rivalry game aspect, whether you're 10-0, 0-10, you're going to have a great game. The second thing is you practice against it every single day.
That's the big
one. So you're
one.
very familiar with
That's
it.
the big one.
The third thing is, because you practice against it and because both offenses are very run heavy, the clock never stops. When you play Houston against Navy, Navy has the ball. Houston is not used. They can't simulate it in scout. Can't simulate it. And so, whereas in a Navy versus Houston, Navy's going to rip off 3 or 4 70-yard touchdowns because Houston's not ready for it.
Right.
Okay. We're going to pitch
so
it.
the whole pace of the game changes from an Army Navy game.
But then Houston gets the ball, and what do? They throw the ball.
Or they go so up tempo that they score in a minute and 2 seconds.
Correct.
And Navy's got the ball back
So
again.
you play Army Navy, and you have 7-minute drive.
Yeah.
7-minute drive. I mean, you might have you go from having 10, 12, 14 possessions a game to 6 to 8.
Yep.
So you have limited possessions. You have 2 teams that know each other that defend that very well, and you have a great rivalry.
But they're also, Jeff, 2 teams that are similar in talent because of who they have to recruit.
Mm-hmm.
But when they play some of these other schools, quote unquote on paper, these schools have much more talent, but they still score 40 on them.
Well, I don't think, you don't see Navy lining up. I don't think Coach Ken, I forget how to say his last name,
Niamatololo,
is air raid certified. Okay?
You are hitting, and this is...
I don't see him running much
nobody
sale.
believes it, but these...
I don't see much sale and smash concepts.
These are unscripted podcasts, and you just hit on 3 topics that I just did videos on recently. Air raid is a buzzword that drives people crazy. So, my opinion, my take on it is very simple. Is it the scheme, or is it because it's different that A, allows them to do what they do against the other MAC schools or the other schools in conference, or even some bigger schools, and then not be able to score points against each other? So is it the scheme itself, or is it the fact that the scheme is so different that when nobody sees it, that's what makes it so successful?
Matt, you know as well as I do, and it's not as much as it used to be in practice. Yeah. But in practice, you go good on good. You go one on one.
You try to.
You try to go ones against ones, and even when you're not ones against ones, you're going ones against twos. Yeah. But when Navy runs offense, okay, they are running their option attack, right?
Yeah.
The same thing with Air Force.
Yeah.
It's all pretty much. I mean, I'm sure guys are probably watching this, being like, he doesn't know anything.
Well, they're going to whip it. Don't worry about it.
One runs midline, and one runs. Air Force is running different. They're running veer. Look, I know enough to be dangerous. I don't claim to know enough. Most of the people watching this, I don't know nearly as much.
It doesn't matter what.
But what I'll tell you is they're very familiar with the scheme, and you have half the possessions. So yes. But what you also have as a disadvantage in Navy is you have to recruit a certain kind of kid, right?
Yeah.
Well, you still have to play defense against spread and air raid.
Yeah.
You might be playing a different kind of offense that defense can't prepare for.
Correct.
But you know what? It's also the inverse of that.
Yeah.
Your offense, your scout team offense at Navy was not recruited to run a 5-wide spread, zone read kind of deal. So your defense isn't getting a quality look during practice either. So that's why I think that's why you see 49-42 a lot in those games.
Yeah, and what other people then brought up to me was, because I don't, as much football as I do for a living and as much things as I do on YouTube, I don't watch a lot of games live. I go back and watch them on YouTube if I'm interested in something. So I haven't seen a lot of Army-Navy games, and I know that's probably blasphemous, but people that have seen them or been to them have told me, they said, well, Coach, the last 3 years, each one of them is kind of broken away from what they are all season when they play each other. And that leads me to believe even further that it's more about the different scheme than it is the scheme itself, because my buddy Tim Krause at the head coach of Bishop Kenny told me he went to a game last year and Navy was running more like shotgun Q stretch or outside zone. So then I started asking him, I said, well, why do you think they're doing that? Well, because they see that same thing every day. Mm-hmm. They see it all the time. So against each other, they need to be different from who they are. Yeah. But yet who they are against other people is different, and that's what drives other people crazy. Mm-hmm. So the point we were getting at is high school coaches, and for me, and the YouTube site that I run and PlayFast Football, the point that I'm always trying to sell people on is scheme is great, but I think maybe being different is better than the scheme. So going back today, wing T is different. If you get really good at the wing T in Northeast Florida with the right players, you might score 60 a game because nobody sees it. Mm-hmm. I'm almost convinced now, at the level we're at in high school and sometimes in college maybe, but I'm almost convinced now, it ain't as much about the X and O's as it is about trying to be different.
Right, but my concern would be, as just a guy who really loves football, I don't coach, I coach my kids in flag football, right? Yeah. But I talk with you and I have a lot of friends who coach. If you're the coach in a city like Jacksonville that has in the past few years open borders where kids can hop from school to school.
Correct.
And you are running a wing T offense, a cynic might say, are you setting those kids that want to play D1 up for the next level by running a wing T? Does that hurt them? Now, I don't, that's not my opinion. I think if you're great,
you're going to go in.
I've been in this city long enough to see guys run trap and buck and belly and bowls.
And win a lot of state championships.
And bowls and then go D1. And then guys and Coach, I think Coach Pruitt ran a lot of wing T too. So you've seen it, it translates.
And my good friend that's going to speak at the clinic, Buddy Nobles, just won a state title in Georgia, and he's speaking on the wing T at the clinic.
Yeah, and I know that's real big in Georgia still, but you get a lot of cynics, you get a lot of people hopping around, and it's such it's like a Twitter environment. Everything's quick now. I bet this guy better know his route tree. He better know and what's the other hot topic?
With quarterbacks?
RPO.
Yeah.
You better have an RPO system or the kids are going to be behind, right?
We don't run those. Just kidding. But, so, all logical points, all good points. Yeah. College guys, if there's talent, they think they can coach anybody, and I agree with them. They can do a lot more things than maybe we can in high school. But here's the interesting point I'll throw at you. Remember when Tim Tebow was with the Gators, and when he had problems with mechanics in the NFL, and they tried to bash Urban Meyer, and Urban Meyer said, look, I got paid to win games in Florida, and I think we did a pretty damn good job. I didn't get paid to fix Tim Tebow's mechanics. Well, in high school, what do they really pay us to do as a coach? What are guys now getting fired for? Winning and losing. Guys are getting fired for losing in high school, as crazy as that is. Yeah. So do I really need to? Yes, I want kids to go on and play in college. I want all my kids to play in college. I want them all to be D1. The more kids that are D1, the better chance I have of promoting my program. But at the same time, I get paid to win and lose. So if the wing T helps me win games, or if flex bone or spread air raid 3-4, 3-3, 4-2-5, 4-3, whatever helps me win games, I'm not running that so the kid goes to college. I'm running that so that I win games and I keep my job. And then when the kid gets to college, he's on his own. That's the same thing Urban Meyer did with Tebow. Yeah. He did what he needed to do to win games, and he did a darn good job of it. Tebow is probably, in my opinion, top 3, if not best college football player of all time. And it wasn't Urban Meyer's job to put him in the NFL and fix his mechanics. That's not what he gets paid for.
Yeah. You had, I'm sure a lot of guys watching this, and I don't know if you saw snippets from the HBO special on Belichick and Saban.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if it was Belichick or it was Saban, but they both said, look, you got great coaches in the NFL, the best coaches in the NFL, but a lot of the things you're seeing in the NFL originated in high school.
Yeah.
A lot of these new things you're starting to see come out.
The game goes from top to bottom and then from bottom to top again. Mm-hmm. So it's cyclical in what it is. And then what happens is, like right now you're seeing Lamar Jackson go nuts in the NFL, right? And a couple years ago, Kaepernick was going nuts in the NFL. So what did those NFL guys have to do?
Yeah, adjust, right?
So if you're going to adjust to play that scheme, who are you going to go talk to? College guys.
Yeah.
Right? So the NFL guys now had to go talk to college coordinators and say, hey, look, we're getting these, these quarterback runs.
Mm-hmm.
The hell are we doing? We've never played that. Our defense is more matching man or man-free concepts with our ends. Gung-ho, we pay these guys, $60 million to sack a quarterback. I don't pay him $60 million to maybe throttle down and read out a dive option phase. How are we going to defend this? So they had to then go back to the college guys and visit the Chip Kellys of the world at that time, and all the other guys, and tempo took off in the NFL a little bit. So those guys have to. Here's the greatest thing about the NFL, in my opinion: it's all win or lose, and those guys don't. They don't. Andy Reid has a guy on his staff whose sole job with the Kansas City Chiefs is to study the best offenses in college football and present reports for Andy Reid, and then Andy Reid can put it into his offense.
Game plan.
That's what it is. And now, as a high school coach and some of the things that I need to do, I just started studying what Mike Shanahan's doing with the 49ers, and met a guy on through Twitter and talked to him on the phone a little bit about some stuff, because he does some really good stuff on YouTube with it, like wide zone principles that really might be a little bit too advanced sometimes at the high school level, but yet I feel like it's something I might need to do. So I'm now all of a sudden watching some NFL stuff, which I never used to do. I never watched the NFL to get any information, because it was just so, the scope of what the NFL is and what high school is was so far apart that I never even thought about it. I just watched college. Well, now all of a sudden I'm watching a little bit of NFL stuff because there's some carryover. Because at the end of the day, football is winning games.
It's also a copycat league too.
Big time, big time. And from the recruiting standpoint, like in high school, with open borders like we have now and boundaries that we have now, if you got the athletes that are in the Northeast Florida area, kid wants to play receiver, he doesn't want to be in the wing tee if you throw it 8 times. Right. So that's also another issue. If I got to recruit my own hallways, how am I going to get these basketball kids to come out and play? Yeah. So that's, I think, why spread-ish football in a way or whatever kind of came out, which I don't even know what spread is. I can't define it. I have no idea. But that's kind of how it all came about, because they have to recruit kids. What are you going to sell a kid on when he comes? You're a wide receiver. Hey, you're going to stalk block and cut block 99% of the time.
Yeah.
Or, hey, we throw it 40 times a game.
I think you just showing pictures of Calvin Johnson, probably.
Yeah, it's probably pretty good.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to throw it 8 times a game, but all 8 are going to be to you.
Here's where, like you said, copycat, here's where it all comes back. And I played receiver 25 years ago, whatever it was, and I played split end in a pro eye offense, and I had to attempt to block a little bit, which I was very, very bad at. Well, here's why the RPOs are great. Now you go to a kid like me playing receiver and say, hey, listen, don't worry about blocking, run this route, and you might get the ball. Well, heck, instead of me jogging off the ball every once in a while because I'm blocking and I'm pissed because I'm playing receiver and I'm the dude, why am I blocking? Now I'm in a route every time. So RPOs were kind of also not only a great football scheme, but they were also kind of helpful to take young kids with a mindset like me to say, man, I got to block, and I'm 150 pounds, throw me the ball. Well, yeah, all right, here's this RPO. I may never get the ball, but I think I might because I'm in the route.
Yeah. That was kind of the same mindset you taught your quarterback when you're in an option offense. You're blocking the end. You have the pitch key.
Yeah.
You call it the pitch key. You had some coaches that would get smart about it and say, look, you're blocking the end with the way you handle this. Okay, so teach you what shoulder to attack, teach you when to pitch, how to win the pitch.
Same thing with bootlegs and stuff like that. It's like, hey,
manipulation.
Listen, when we're running inside zone, you got to fake boot away, and I need you to get your head around and tell me if that end is there so we can run the boot. And as a quarterback, every time you come back, it didn't matter whether you play for me or not. I already know the answer. If I came and said, Jeff, is the end playing? You know, coach.
No, every time. It's like asking a receiver if he's open.
Yeah, every time.
Every time.
I've never been covered. I was never covered in my college career. D1, D3, D8, whatever level I played at, I was never covered. But so as we continue along the football road a little bit, now I want to get back into some business stuff. Florida Gators, happy. Direction, good place.
Elated.
Yeah.
I mean, as a former player, and I was a walk-on, but as somebody who grew up in the greatest era of Gator football ever, from Coach Spurrier to Coach Meyer.
It was okay.
Yeah, I played right in the middle during the Coach Zook years, but so we didn't quite get that. But I kind of grew up when the swamp was rocking, and it was really, really a good time. And for about 10, 12 years.
Can you verify this for me as a Gator fan?
Yes.
When they played Florida State the other night, or no, not Florida State. Who was it? It wasn't a Florida State game, but before that, they had a night game, and the place was just off the hook.
Was the Auburn game?
Was Auburn early in the season or like
5th or 6th game?
Somebody played there at night, and they said the place was off the chain, and one of the other coaches said it was the craziest environment he's played in or whatever. And on a different text thread that I'm in with some of my buddies that are Gator fans, I told them, I said, that's only like the third game they've sold out in the last 4 years. Is that true?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I think when Coach Muschamp was there, I'm not sure this is accurate, but they had a long streak of sellouts.
Yeah.
And I think when Muschamp was there was when that ended.
Yeah.
And then since then it's been tough. But
it's sporadic, right?
But that's not just the Gators.
No. That's not what I'm saying.
That's a problem nationwide.
No, that's not what I'm saying
There's
at
a
all.
lot of reasons for that. But I will say that interest has waned for more reasons than just them not winning.
Yeah.
Games are at night.
Economic reasons.
There's not a lot of hotels in Gainesville. It's hard to get down there. There's a lot of reasons.
And when it is really good and there aren't hotels, it's hard to partake in everything you want to partake in an atmosphere like that when you got to get home.
Yeah, but you know what? In college football, you only get 6, 7 home games.
Yeah.
And as a Gator fan, how many of those home games are going to be the games I want to go to? First of all, it's not cheap.
No.
It's not easy to get to. Okay, you want to have a good time, but when it's Florida State, and it's at night, that's one of the ones that's going to be hopping. Especially when Florida's got a pretty good team.
My point that I was making to them is it's good to see Florida football back, and it's good to see. Of course, they threw in that they were ranked higher than Alabama, which everybody does. I get it. But my point to them was, look, that swamp atmosphere that you're talking about that's so nuts. I don't know if realistically it's like that as much as you guys think it is.
Like what?
The game that I was talking, it was either Auburn or it was somebody. It was it was what it used to be all the time.
Look, I've been there. I've been there for any Gator fan who's my age or older will tell you in the 90s that place was a zoo every single home game.
And my point to the Gator fans was when you're back where you are now and maybe ascending and trending forward again, it's going to be like that all the time again.
For the big games.
Yeah.
When they got, I think next year they got South Alabama and they got a few other small schools coming in where it might not be quite that crazy. But
that's everywhere. We've already said that. We've already talked about it. But I think sometimes
next year you got LSU coming to town, so that's going to be a big one.
Yeah.
And it's going to be nice. As a Gator fan, and I'm not like as a kid, man. The Gators lost on Saturday. It took till the next weekend to be not devastated. It was rough. As an adult now, you realize that it's entertainment, it's fun, but it's the livelihood for a lot of these kids and these coaches. I know how much work goes into that, so I respect the hell out of that, man. It's tough to.
I've had discussions with a lot of people, and last week we had a buddy of mine, Martin Aftuck, was on the podcast, and he's the principal at Bannerman Learning Center now. He was the AD at Orange Park that hired me. Big Gator fan, and we go back and forth about it all the time. He tells me, well, it must be really hard being a Yankee fan and an Alabama fan. And he said, how are you an Alabama fan from New York? And I said, well, 1978, I'm 6 years old playing Pop Warner football. There's only 2 games on nationally in New York. We don't have colleges. On Long Island, you don't have Division I football. So Notre Dame and Alabama are the only 2 games I can watch when I start playing football. I started watching Alabama. I didn't know I was going to move 45 minutes from Gainesville. So I'm an Alabama fan. Oh, you're a Yankee fan too. Well, yeah, when you grow up in New York, you choose Yankees or Mets. Well, when I was younger, throughout the late 70s, the Yankees had some good years, and then in the early 80s, the Mets got better than the Yankees. And then the Yankees got good again. But I made a point to him, and I said to him, okay, well, let me ask you this. Since 1978, who's had more losing seasons, Florida or Alabama?
Since 78?
Yeah.
Alabama.
Alabama has had more losing seasons.
Yeah.
So how can you
Put
then...
right on the pool table down.
How can you...
Thanks, buddy.
Hey, Dad. How can you make that argument to say it's so easy to root for a certain team, you win all the time? As a Gator fan, you've had more winning seasons than I have.
I think it's the same reason people get mad on Twitter about politics and sports. It's a very people want to tell you what they're aggravated about you, especially when it's through a keyboard.
Yeah, well,
You know, if it's to your face, it's your buddy.
and I'm talking about a group thread of friends. I'm not talking about like Twitter arguments. I'm just talking about a group.
You know, I mean, the fact that Florida's had fewer, that really doesn't matter.
And I've been known to be a pretty good button pusher.
Yeah.
I know the right buttons to push. I know where to get to, and then I think I know when to back off a little bit.
Yeah.
Sometimes maybe not, but but the good thing about it is, if you're in this area and you're a Gator fan, it's there again. It's back again.
Man, it's back. I think the biggest difference between Coach Mullen and then the other two coaches that just were there, Coach McElwain and Coach Muschamp. What I loved about Coach Muschamp was that people, even after he left, he even tell you he didn't win enough ball games, but the people down there that still are there talk very glowingly about Coach Champ, about how he treated them.
I love him.
And a lot of his former players the same way. He's got. I don't hear anything negative or positive about Coach McElwain, but I've heard multiple people speak just glowingly about the kind of man Muschamp is, and he really represented the university well. Just didn't win enough games. The thing about Mullen is, what was exciting to me is not only is he a great football coach, not only is he's the
Chris
best.
Hetman, guys.
Yeah, there's Chris Hetman. There he is.
That's heck.
Not only is Coach Mullen the best football coach in the history of another SEC school, and it's not even close.
Right.
People will talk about Jackie Sherrill at Mississippi State. Go look at his record versus Coach Mullen's record. And Coach Mullen did that in the era of Nick Saban and Les Miles, and Auburn had being up, right?
He didn't beat anyone.
He did okay a couple years. But go look at his record versus every other coach in the history of the school. And not only that was he great, he wanted this job.
Yeah.
He got off the plane doing the chime. He's been here before. He's been a part of winning teams here, and he wanted to bring it back. He's great with foreign players. Chris and I ran into him, and Chris played for Mullen when he was in 06. Chris was a starting place kicker. And we're walking through the Rights Union. Chris and I just won an award down in Gainesville, and Chris sees him, and Mullen
for Dome.
For Dome, right?
Top 100 Gator.
Come
on.
Fastest growing Gator-led company.
Yeah.
So, anyways, Chris runs into Coach Mullen. Coach Mullen recognized, and they sat there and talked for 10 minutes. He's just that kind of guy. And on top of that, the dude is a hell of a coach. Yeah. And he's got a really good staff.
He can get it done, and they got it back to where probably it needs to be. And it's again.
Well, Gator fans though, I try not to lump myself in with the crazy ones. It's never good enough, right?
I'm just glad I live where I live now as an Alabama fan, because I have to hold. First of all, I hold that against every Gator fan, and I tell them how you're the worst fan base in the nation. Right?
I think your fan base is trying to kick Saban.
I think but the good thing is I don't live near my fan base, so I just see it on social media. I don't have to see it live. Some of the things I saw after we lost to Auburn, they're just mind-numbing.
I know.
I mean, they're mind-numbing. They're 8 points away from being undefeated. All right, with kicking game, injuries, everything else you can talk about, which I don't think Alabama deserves to be in the top 4 this year. I don't think they deserve to be in the playoff. I said that halfway through the year. But here's the thing: you're 8 points away from being undefeated, and you played one of your worst games against LSU and still lost by 5.
How about the Bowles kid?
Yeah,
how well he played.
Crazy.
It's great, isn't it?
Crazy. It's awesome to see for Jacksonville.
Oh, it's incredible.
But the thing is, like when I see people saying it may be time for Saban to go, I'm like, I almost want to pull my Alabama card and say, look, I don't know who to root for, and I can't root for you. And I put it on Twitter because I don't care. I put it out there on Twitter. I said, if you're somebody who thinks Nick Saban needs to go, you don't need to be putting an opinion out there about anything.
Yeah.
But those people are out there.
Yeah.
All right, so now here's the next deal. How do we fix the Jags?
Well, I don't think the podcast is long enough for that.
Just give me a quick synopsis. I'll give you my opinion.
If I'm the GM,
which you might be.
There's no way there's no way I'm the GM of any team.
I've talked to some people on YouTube. You might be the GM.
No, there is no way. I'm a lifelong Jags fan.
Yeah.
That was the first game.
Yep.
Okay. I want very much. I'm kind of a second generation Jags fan. It's kind of my job.
Yeah.
And our age job to bring our kids up as Jags fans. My kids don't want to be Jags fans. My kids want to be Patrick Mahomes fans and Ravens fans and Rams fans, and everybody loves Brady, right?
Yeah.
I think that
because of
what people say from the outside of Jacksonville is fans don't care.
But
it couldn't be further from the truth.
Again, like all the podcasts I've done, the 2 that I did previously when me and Colby did one and me and Martin Aftuck did one, all our topics kind of lead to the same road. Why is that the case with your kids and everything else nowadays and everybody else's kids? Social media.
Yeah.
You have access to every game, ESPN, everything you wanted to click so you can be a fan of somebody. I was an Alabama fan because in New York there were only 2 games on TV.
Yeah.
So it's easy now, especially when your team isn't winning. It's easy for your kids to grow up rooting for somebody else because they see it everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You never used to see that.
A little bit of it's luck, man. I mean, you know, Chiefs, Mahomes fell to them.
Yeah.
Watson.
They took him.
Oh yeah, Watson fell to the Texans. The 2 guys we'd love to have here, right?
We passed on.
6, 7 years, 8, 9 years ago, we end up we're 2-14 or 3 and whatever we were. We win the last game of the year against the Colts in a game that doesn't matter. And instead of getting the number 1 pick, we get the 2 pick, or 3 pick, right?
Yeah.
If we lose that game, we get the 1 pick and we get Andrew Luck. So there's some things that have happened. I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna point the finger at anybody in a negative way. What I will say is that if I was a head coach in the NFL and I was met with the type of diversity the Jaguars have met this year, I would hope I would handle myself in the way Doug Marrone handled himself this year.
Yeah, you're pretty good.
I mean, I just think, I don't know much about the guy other than the fact that every time, and there's been a lot of negative things when you think about it, you got to start linebacker quick before the season.
Yeah.
Okay. You have the Jalen deal.
Yeah.
Your starting quarterback, you just paid $22 million for a year, and gets his collarbone broken after he leads a drive down, scores a touchdown on the 11th play of the season.
Yeah.
Okay. You got Darius goes down. You got injuries all over the place. You got no linebackers. You got no tight ends. Your offensive line is, so you got all these things kind of that happen that are out of your control a little bit.
Yeah.
And you got nobody else talking. Caldwell doesn't talk. Coughlin doesn't talk. Khan doesn't talk. So you're handling every question.
Yeah.
I've been thoroughly impressed with the way he's handled it. They had a 6th-round rookie from Wazoo who was air raid certified come in, and he goes 4-4. And he lights the city on fire, man. We were on ESPN special.
Here's the greatest thing about everything you just mentioned. Unfortunately for Coach Marrone, nobody cares.
You know, the best T-shirt I think I've ever seen in my life, ever, was Lamar Jackson a few weeks ago in the post-game press conference.
Yeah.
You see it?
Yeah, the one it said either.
Work harder, nobody cares.
Yeah, I mean, for football people that have coached or played before, you just laid out 10 things that would lead Bill Belichick to maybe not win as many games. Nick Saban to not win as many games. Right. Nick Saban went through it this year.
Yeah.
Lost 2 linebackers before the season even started. The Buckus Award winner probably on paper. Alabama's not the same. It's not easy.
No.
It's not easy to win, first of all, in anything. It's not easy to win in the NFL when guys go down and get injured. But here's the problem. Nobody cares. And right now in Jacksonville, they need something, some kind of hope, something to lean on, something to look forward to. And all those reasons that you brought up to me as a football person, I'm like, I get every one of them. Mm-hmm. Nobody cares.
You know what?
So what route do we have to go? I'll give you my opinion.
I guess you giving hard takes, stone cold hard takes here?
This is Broken Skull Sessions. I was trying to do this before Stone Cold was doing his.
This is tough because you put your opinion out there and everybody rips you apart.
There's only 8 people watching this.
Well, there's 8 very opinionated people that are paying good money for this.
But hopefully after you're on this podcast, there's going to be 800 people watching.
Well, I think if there's 9 on here, that'll be a win.
For you, yeah. That's the same thing I told you when we started doing business together.
Yeah.
If I sell you 12 more hats, it's a win.
That's an absolute win. Now, I unfortunately think it's going to cost everybody their job all the way up to Coach Coughlin.
Yeah, probably.
I think that you got to say what you want to say about Shad Khan. You got a guy who is one of the most impressive businessmen, and he didn't get there without knowing how to navigate certain areas of adversity.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to go seek counsel from a lot of really smart people again, and go in a different direction.
And hope that they're smarter this time when he seeks counsel.
Well, I think what happened 3 years ago, a lot of lack of discipline, right? We needed more discipline. What did they do? They went out and got Coach Coughlin.
Yeah.
I think Coach Coughlin might have been too much of a disciplinarian. And now you got these articles coming out that are real negative, and I don't have an opinion on that. I'm just saying, I think they're going to clean house. I think they're going to. It's a copycat league. Who did the Bengals go hire? They went and got some 36-year-old.
Yeah.
Who the Packers go hire?
Yep.
I think they're going to go get some. I don't think McCarthy's coming here. I think you're going to get some young coordinator or someone who can come and bring a vibrant young place here where young stars can
Here's
thrive.
the interesting thing you bring up about Coughlin, and I bring this up on my videos all the time and talk to people all the time in high school football. whether it's discipline or that word culture that's now out there, that everybody loves that word culture, right?
Yeah.
Here's the thing about culture and discipline. You better win.
You better win.
Because if you don't, it turns negative real quick. So when Tom Coughlin was here the first time around, and I love Tom Coughlin because I have best friends that play for him. I still talk to Tom McManus to this day, who's a former Jag linebacker, still lives in this area. Pete Mitchell, former tight end. My best friend growing up, Stephen Boyd, all played at Boston College. When it's all said and done, now that we're all 47 years old, they speak glowingly about Coughlin, which they didn't as much when they were younger, playing for the guy, until they went to other places. And they played in other markets for other people, and then they said, man, can I get back to Coach Coughlin? It all comes down to winning. So when he came in with all this discipline and what we need in the locker room, great.
Yeah.
Grit, toughness. And Tom McManus talks about it all the time, like lunch pail guys, you know.
Yeah.
Awesome. Win. Because if you don't, that now becomes overruled. You know, if you look at like Bear Bryant and the Junction Boys and all that stuff, yeah, good, because you're winning.
Mm-hmm.
Do that and don't win, and now all of a sudden it comes down to lawsuits.
Yeah.
So I think winning has a lot to do with it. But if we take all those things out, don't worry about the staff, don't worry about anything else. Here's my take. We're not one player away.
Right.
We have our pick and we have
Rams
pick, right? Let's go the Belichick model. If we use one of those picks, let's use the lower one.
Well, you don't have Tom Brady, so it's tough to go the Belichick model.
Okay. Well, let's go back to how he does it every year in the draft.
And some would argue he's been bad at drafting recently.
Yeah, maybe. But
Yeah.
you know, whether it's free agent, getting guys to play how they play in that system, whatever it is, watch the moves they make on draft day every year. So let's take our lower pick from us and the Rams. Let's trade the higher one, and let's start stockpiling picks to build a roster off of early second round, multiple second round, third round players, and build a roster around that, because we're not one player away. So what is 2 first round picks for the Jags? What is it really going to do for us? Now, other people are going to argue and say, well, no, just don't miss. Okay, I get it. But are they 1 or 2 players away in the next 3 years?
Who are the best 3 players on the Jags right now? Who are the 3 players you said, I'm going to keep 3 going into next year? I
don't watch the NFL, but from what I see, local media-wise, I would say, I can't even pronounce his name, the D lineman.
Ngakwe, third round pick.
Ngakwe, I would think when he's healthy, maybe Miles Jack.
Second round pick. We got a receiver about 1,000 yards, right?
Chalk?
Second round pick.
Okay.
So
basically,
yeah. You know, the best player is the
look
ones
at all our first round picks are where?
We got Fournette, you got Taven Bryan, you got guys who, you know, I mean.
So the draft can be hit or miss. NFL teams are hit or miss, but my take on it is very simple. There is no big name. There is no guy that's going to turn the Jags around right now. You don't have first or second to say, okay, all bets off on Minshew and Foles, we're going Joe Burrow. You don't have that pick right now. Right? I don't even know if that's the direction you would go, wouldn't go, but I think we do something, when I say we, the Jags, something to start building the team through multiple draft picks in the middle and trying to find the right players.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's
probably why I'm here.
The most frustrating part about being a Jags fan is the national perception of this city and this team. The empty stadiums and the fans don't care, which couldn't be further from the truth. You got a great fan base here.
Well, originally what nobody understood was that stadium held 72,000, and other NFL stadiums only hold 52.
Right.
So
and we have to keep it big because of the Florida Georgia game.
Yes.
And that's just part of the deal. But you have a city who, when we're not, you know, if you look at, we've been given a terrible 2 decades with 1 or 2 years in there of winning football. Yeah. We've never strung together really since the 90s.
In a city that's not really used to losing.
Yeah, you have Florida State fans here.
So people that are my age, your age, in that era when Florida and Florida State and Miami and all of, you didn't have an NFL team up here for a little while, and then you get one in the 90s. When you get one, those college people in this area, by the way, happen to root for 2 of the best college football programs at that time. They don't want to lose.
Right. You have get the right quarterback. Get the quarterback position right. I think it fixes a lot of problems.
That's why guys that draft them or coach them, that's why those guys are like, you know, treated as the whisperers in the game. You know, I mean, Do you realize the guy at LSU, Joe Brady, that's the passing game coordinator, whose name is now the hottest in the world? You know what his resume is by any chance?
I know he was a low-level guy at the Saints last year, right?
He was an offensive analyst with the Saints for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay. He was a GA at Penn State.
Okay.
He played at William & Mary, which is great 1AA program. That has nothing to do with my comment.
It's also where...
When he coached at William & Mary, he coached linebackers for a year.
Yeah.
The guy is now the hottest name in offense and may get himself a, $3 million contract as an assistant coach, if not a head job somewhere or a big-time coordinator job. For 13 games with Joe Burrow. You get that position right, you got yourself a career.
Yep.
Whether you draft it, trade for it, coach it, build it. If you get that position right at any level, you set yourself apart, but beyond anything.
Who's the best quarterback you ever coached?
Let's see.
Not all-star games.
No, 2000, 2001, Eric Moeller at Ridgeview. Phenomenal thrower of the football. Went to North Greenville and broke a lot of records at Division II level. 2008, our furthest run ever. Third round of the playoffs, my best run as a high school coach, Derek Hatcher. Phenomenal thrower of the football. 2012, my best season ever, 9-1, lost in the first round to PlayFast speaker Joey Wiles, PlayFast speaker Brian Braddock at St. Augustine. Great friends of mine, great coaches. Lost in the first round to them, and I had Josh Moore, who was a dual threat. Those three, in different ways, were the best I ever had. I don't know which one I'd say was better. Different styles of game and different times. When I had Eric, we were 11 personnel under center. When I was playing you in '99, we weren't shotgun spread, no huddle. We were under center. We were tight end orientated, either 21 or 11 personnel. And Eric was an under center kid, and then Derek is a kid that throws the ball, and then Josh Moore's a dual threat. So those three are the best I've had, but they're all different. So I can't say I've coached in the same. Your point, you're going to try and get through.
No, I was curious.
What'd you do to get those guys there, or?
No, I mean, you work with the quarterback
A lot.
And so it's interesting to see that you have three guys that play the game three different ways.
Yeah, all big time.
On probably three very different teams.
Yeah.
Because I know the team you had 99 when we played you was originally
Brand
a new school.
Yeah,
I don't think you had any seniors.
99, we had a senior class, but it was their first senior year because in '98, when the program started and I was an assistant, that's when we had no seniors and we were playing a JV. But 99, the time we played you, that's our first varsity schedule. That's our first go-round at full varsity schedule. So we had a senior class, but it was limited. And at that time, nobody wanted to go to Ridgeview.
Right.
You had no idea what it was going to be.
Yeah. You only had Orange Park and Ridgeview and Middleburg at that point.
And Clay, which Clay was pretty far away from us. No, not yet. So, so with that being said, quarterback position, I don't think we're going anywhere with it. Just signed one for $80 million. That's a backup, and now you got another one at Linden Town. As a business owner, do the Jags doing well affect you at all?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You think?
Yeah. We do a lot of business.
Talk about it if you can, because I think it's great. Because I'm not from that neck of the woods, but I see a tweet the other day about a Bills Mafia beanie.
Well, there's a fan group. They're more than a fan group. They're one of the biggest fan groups in town. Bold City Brigade. The guy who runs that, and everybody knows him as Cap, Bold City Cap. He had a relationship with a guy named Del Reed who runs the Bills Mafia.
Yeah.
Everybody knows Bills Mafia.
Yeah.
They're crazy.
Yeah.
They're great fans.
Yeah.
And the guys at Bold City Brigade reached out to us. We did some hats for them.
Yep.
And it was during the Minshew thing, so I think they did really well.
Yeah.
And he introduced me to
Mustache
Del.
hats?
We didn't do any mustache hats, but they were selling a lot of mustache T-shirts. And then the people that they buy some, they did some. There's a guy named
like the Lionel Richie hat you did, or
that's a different hat. It's a guy that kind of looks like Lionel Richie. Anyways.
Yes.
So, we don't get any license issues here.
That hat is awesome.
So long story short, we got introduced to guys in Buffalo. They reached out. They wanted to do some stuff, and they placed an order. It was great. It's great to work with.
It's the video.
Great to work with NFL people.
When I see it on a tweet, I'm from New York. I'm 11 hours from Buffalo, but
Yeah.
I'm from New York, and I see it, and I go, wait a minute. That's a Dome tweet about the Bills Mafia.
Yeah.
And I do business with Dome. I'm from New York. Small world. But yet in the NFL,
NFL is small.
as a small business owner,
Mm-hmm.
the local team doing well is good for you.
It's great. I think when let's put it this way: when the Jags are winning, and I drop my kids off at school, the teachers, okay, the librarians, and all the students are wearing much. I saw more Jalen Ramsey and Blake Bortles jerseys of last. We were winning, and when we're not winning, you don't see a lot.
No.
And it's not just the sporting goods stores. It's
winning.
When the Jags are winning, you got 20,000 more people in the stand, which means there's more food and beverages being purchased before the game and after the game. People going out to eat. You got more people tuned in. I think you got more camaraderie around the city because you got Florida State fans in Jacksonville, right?
Yeah.
But on Sundays, we're Jags fans. Yeah. And I think as much as anybody, maybe people who aren't football people would laugh at that and say, that's a real thing, man.
Yeah.
That's a real thing that unites a small market city like us.
Yes. And
there's a lot of proud, hey, I'm a big Jags fan. And I hope they get it right. I'm not one that's going to point the finger a lot. I hope they get it right, man. I'm glad it's not my job.
I don't watch a lot of NFL, but obviously you live here, and my wife was a cheerleader with the Jags for a bunch of years, and so I root for the Jags now. She watches every game. I don't watch a lot, but I just want to see them get it right because in this market, I'm just tired of hearing everybody talk like they know what the hell they're doing. Like everybody knows how to fix the Jags. Everybody knows what the Jags should do. I just want them to win so I don't have to hear those people. Yeah. Not that I hear them. I just don't want to see it on social media. I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it on the radio every day. I just don't want to hear it. So that's why I'd like them to get good.
It's the same guy that thinks they know what Tom McPherson should do on Friday night.
Oh, they do.
When it's 3rd and 6 and you call the wrong play. It's the same. It's the same exact
guy. Same guy. People. So let's go back and finish out with business. You've been to clinics before, football clinics, as a vendor, as a business person. We're partnered up together to do this PlayFast football clinic, and we've been partnered for the last year doing work. Schematically, how do we become different? What do you, as a business owner, what can you do better at clinics to make the experience better for coaches and vendors?
It has to be an experience, and it has to be a win-win for everybody. Like I said earlier about the Riddell relationship we have, it's not a vendor-supplier relationship, it is a partnership. And so when you have a clinic, you gotta have a few different elements. One, where is it?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, the place you guys have picked is unbelievable.
On the ocean.
It's the best hotel in St. Augustine.
Yep.
It is. It's the best. It's the best hotel, and at the rate you got it, it's affordable.
Outkick the coverage again, Jeff.
That's
what we do it a lot.
So I've looked at rates at the hotel just throughout the year. Take my wife down there because it's kind of one of those places you want to take your wife to. It's double.
The rate. My buddy Joel that is on the business side of the clinic. When he told me what the rate was, January 24th, at the Embassy Suites in St. Augustine, I almost flipped. As a person who has daughters that goes to Disney and does other things, when he told me what the rate was, and I almost lost my mind. I said, yeah. I couldn't believe it.
I mean, you're way under $200. It's fantastic. It's a good price. Typically, it's
Embassy Suites.
Typically, that hotel is between $300 and $400 a night.
Yes. Yes.
And you're half that.
And the Embassy Suite made to order breakfast, 2-hour happy hour deals or open bar, whatever they got.
But to answer your question, I think coaches are what make a coaching clinic special.
Yes.
It isn't the speaker list, although the speaker list is important.
Yeah.
Okay. Because what's the biggest? Coaches are what make it special, and what makes it special for coaches is the experience. Whether it's the experience you have with people you meet, new coaches, and the sharing of information, or it's just taking your staff. When I was coaching high school ball, for 5-6 years, I was an offensive coordinator for a school. Some of the best times I ever had were whether we got away for camp or whether we went to a clinic together, had a few beers, learned a little bit. But it's like everything else, man. When you get out of coaching and you get out of playing, what do you always miss the most? You miss the camaraderie, you miss the guys.
And that's what gets people back in all the time.
And so, you've put together an amazing list of speakers. I personally know about 8 of them. I've heard of all of them. They're all very, very established. And so
all high school guys.
They're all high school guys. You got relatable coaches coming in with relatable ideas, and it's a big deal.
That was big for us.
Yeah.
For me, at least, with the business model of what I'm trying to do, that was big for me. Was I need relatable content.
Yeah. So you got relatable content that any of those coaches, whether they're offensive coach or a defensive coach, can walk into a meeting and come out not only smarter and learning something, but I think you got some dynamic speakers that are really going to enjoy it. You got a great location. Yep. You're going to have a great happy hour, which I know that Baker Sports is going to be sponsoring, and you got a great meal the next day. So you've created an experience that I think is different than a lot of clinics out there.
Shameless plug on the lunch sponsor.
Oh, I think that's Dome Headwear sponsoring the.
Dome
lunch.
Headwear is sponsoring the lunch, but without Dome Headwear and Baker Sports and SCORE fundraising, the clinic doesn't get off the ground. So, for me to have that support is amazing, and I think it's going to be a good deal. It's nerve-wracking. Everybody wanted to, I've had this thing on Twitter for a year.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wanted to come. Everybody wanted to, everybody was excited. We put together a speaker list that to me we knocked out of the park for our first time clinic. And waiting on people to register and book hotel rooms, you know what it's like as a business owner.
Yeah, but I think you're going to have great success this year. And I think that what's going to come out of this is the buzz,
You gotta be in
and
it for
the
the-
feedback.
We didn't.
It's going to come. It's going to.
You told me this. You told me this when we started,
Mhm.
and I brought up the clinic idea on top of the PlayFast football, on top of partnered with Dome, on top of you taking me through step by step starting a business. You told me this in the beginning. Look, don't shoot for year one now. Don't get into this for year one now. We got to be thinking 5, 8, 10 years down the road.
Well, you know the best part about year one, right? It's the same thing about what's the best part about week one in season. Week two, 7 days away.
And
It sets the baseline
Yeah.
for where you can go.
yeah, and there's no results yet.
Right.
So everybody's excited going
So
in.
whatever the result is, that's the result. Here's how we
We
did in
knew-
the first year.
We
That's a
knew
great
going
baseline.
in, me and my partner Joel and with the clinic, and we knew going in this wasn't going to be one and done.
Mhm.
That's not what our goal was. That's not what, we knew that we were going to try and make this. Let's get it off the ground and figure out what it is. Let's figure out if we can partner up with people, which we did. Let's figure out if people are interested, which they were. Now that we get it off the ground and running, where do we have to go? That's going to be the next part. But I think that having business people involved that can give you, that I've been involved with, that can critique and say, all right, coach, look, the good thing about you is you're not going to be afraid to say, listen, I think you're going about this all wrong. And for me, that's always, whether I was a player, I enjoy that and I need to hear it. Whether I like it or not is a different story, but I function better that way. I'll go home and think about that for a little bit. So to have business people involved that are going to say, all right, coach, here's what we got to do next year. Here's what we got to do. Here's what we got to do. That's the part I'm most excited about, because I think we got it off the ground. It got legs. It got moving. We got sponsors. We got businesses involved locally that are great. So now it's going to be that next step to, all right, look, you guys do this for a living.
Mhm.
I coach football for a living and I dabble in business. Where do we got to go? What do we got to do?
I think it's going to be a great thing. I'm looking forward to where it's going as well.
It's going to be great. I appreciate you being on the podcast.
Thanks, sir.
This is an unbelievable backdrop and setting. Look at all these different hats and the work that they've done in here. The bar top. We've got the black PlayFast, gray swords up, white and orange swords up. All right. Jeff's got on his gray dome hat. I've got on my PlayFast hat. Amazing company, amazing people. Don't ever burn bridges where you're at. You never know. If I would have acted like a jackass on the sideline and treated him badly as a quarterback at Nease, if I don't take him in the door when he first comes to rec selling hats, just all things you go back and look at and go, if none of those things happen, who knows where you are. So for those of you out there that are listening to the podcast from a business standpoint, don't burn your bridges. You never know what help you might need. I appreciate every one of you for listening and checking this out. It's my buddy Jeff Whitaker, DomeHats, Colby behind the camera, head in the back room over there. Remember, guys, you won't play well until you play fast, and we'll catch you all next time.
Swords up, baby.
Swords up. Good deal, man.
Yeah, man, that was fun.
You guys are all good kids.